you planning to position yourselves on the continent in, as you've alluded to, there's a lot of competition coming on board. How do you plan to position yourself in remaining competitive as Sentech?
Well, we're essentially an infrastructure company. That's where our strength lies. And so, quite apart from rolling out infrastructure, we also have the ability to provide a lot of services, such as project management, coverage planning, etc., etc. And so that's what we plan to do. In addition to that, you know that we're migrating our television infrastructure from analog to digital.
When is that likely to happen? Because that's the million-dollar question.
We are in the process of doing that.
Do we have a deadline yet?
Yes. Government said that we should switch on last year, 2008 in November. We did do that 2 days before the the timeline, and to switch off analog in 2011 in November. And so we are working feverishly to meet that target.
How has the uptake been, though?
It's still in the early days because the set-top boxes are yet to be manufactured. And so we are simply rolling out the infrastructure. The broadcasters are very close to the set-top boxes that will be required in order to be able to access the signal.
There was the whole issue regarding the boxes. Cost. There was the cost factor where some people felt, why should we pay for these boxes? How have you addressed your communication with the general public?
Well, the government has a committee, Digital Zonga, that is intended to communicate with the public, to educate them, to know, so that they know what's expected, and to also assure them that they don't need to get rid of their old television sets. All they need is a set-top box. Government has further said that they would subsidize the poorest households so that they too can access the digital signal.
Will those boxes be ready by 2010 Soccer World Cup?
I'm not so sure. There was a workshop last week where the minister and the director general talked about these issues. The manufacturers were also there, and so it's really the agenda as opposed to Sentech's agenda.
As you mentioned, Doctor, your core business is mainly on infrastructure as well. However, there's a lot of competition coming on board in terms of fiber optic that we've seen, like CCOM connecting recently. How much are you planning to invest on infrastructure in the next 5 years?
Well, not that kind of infrastructure.
Yes.
We have decided that quite apart from the digital migration from analog to digital television, that we would go with wireless broadband. Fiber is really expensive. You have to dig the roads and all of that. Whereas,
but it's posing as competition to your
well,
business.
yes, but the two are in a sense also complementary, because how else do you then reach the outlying areas or the rural areas? If you decide on fiber, it's going to take a decade or more to really reach out to everybody. Whereas if you use wireless technology, be it WiMAX or LTE or satellite, you can do that very, very quickly. And so that is what we're actually looking at deploying. We've started with Mpumalanga schools, for instance, where we have a rollout. We're using satellite, and you can indeed reach all these communities that are very difficult to reach.
What about growing your presence in the rest of Africa?
Would love to do that. And so we are engaged in developing a strategy which is going to be finalized very soon to say how do we approach the other African countries, and where do we find partners to work with us, because the people in the countries would know their markets better than Sentech being in South Africa, and so we're looking at that.